Hello and welcome to Papercrafting Playdate. My name is Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to do some very basic stamping. This is episode 164 of Papercrafting Playdate, and the actual date is November 21st, 2025. So this is the second annual birthday edition of Papercrafting Playdate because my birthday's tomorrow. And last year I decided I'm gonna do my favorite things for my birthday celebration. And I thought that was a pretty good idea. Had a lot of fun. And I'm gonna do that again. Now I say that, but like we pretty much do my favorite things every week, right? But I'm gonna focus on very simple background stamping today, which is one of my absolute favorite things to do ever. Just give me some stamp sets, some ink, and some cardstock, and I could just create forever. And so I think it's always fun to kind of go back to the basics when we didn't have all the bells and whistles and the dies and the beautiful designer series paper, if you've been a stamper a long time. And we just kind of had a couple punches and our inks and our imaginations. And I think that's, I find it really relaxing to just work with the color and the stamped images. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's share a few cards before we get started. So I'm going to have a look at our table here. Now I have a larger pile of cards downstairs. Actually, I think I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait because you know what? I didn't bring them all up. They're in a pile that I've been admiring downstairs. So we're gonna jump right in. So what I wanted to share before we get started is that we are coming to the end of a mini catalog. Let me grab it. So currently, we have the September to December mini catalog that is live right now. And of course, our annual catalog is live right now. And then every other month, Stampin' Up! Releases online exclusives, which aren't in a publication, they just go right to the store. And so this month, November, there was some brand new things released into the store. I'm going to use a couple of those today. And we're using some things from, I think we're using some things from here too. So I know new people jump on all the time. And so you know where all the products and supplies that I use come from. This is where they come from. And I like to link all the main products that I use in the video, in the description box. So you can find all that stuff there. Now, when that mini catalog ends, we begin a new one in January. So this is a copy of the January to April mini catalog, and there's going to be new online exclusives coming out in January as well. And so there will be a sign up. If you would like to be my customer and grab a catalog, I will mail it to you. Okay, I'm going to stand up and we're going to get started on our projects. So I've got 3 different background techniques that we're going to work on today. And we're going to start with the first one with just a piece of white paper. How about that? We're just going to use our basic white paper. Hello everyone. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I had to use the calculator today to remember how old I am. I don't know if anybody else has this problem. Part of it is because I'm just not great with numbers. But second of all, I always anticipate my birthday coming, and I try to think about like how old am I going to be on my birthday? And at some point, my brain switches over to already thinking I'm that age. This has happened to me a couple times. And then my birthday comes and I'm like, hey, I am this year, this many years old. And my husband's always like, no, you're not. For my 47th birthday, I thought I was 48 the whole year. And then I wasn't. So I basically missed 47. Okay. And I will be 57 tomorrow, so I'm still having the same issues. We're going to start with the Petals of Beauty bundle. This is an online exclusive. It has a whole suite to it. So I'll just let you take a peek at that. Linda's been there too. Yeah, I just would like to say, you know, if I turn 55, I'm 55 plus until I get to 60. And then when I'm 60, then I'll just say I'm 60. And then when I'm 61 through 64, I'm going to say I'm 60 plus. And then you don't have to really remember, right? Thank you, Wendy. I'm in my prime. I don't know about that, Cindy. I'm looking forward to another year for sure. Very blessed. But okay, here is the suite, Brushed with Beauty. It's gorgeous. There's paper. Here's the bundle. It's a double bundle suite. There's also an embossing folder, which we're going to use, and some beautiful embellishments. So we're going to use the stamp sets, and that's it. Because that's what we're doing today, stamps, ink, and paper. So I've already put these images onto the blocks that I'm going to use, and I picked out some colors. And so I've been playing with the color wheel because we're just looking at ink. And so I really thought with these flowers, I wanted to do some pink flowers. And so I'm going to do some green for the leaves, and they're kind of complementary, right? Red and green. And so the shades that I picked are not particularly on this wheel because they are in colors. So I picked Shy Shamrock and Strawberry Slush, and then a lighter shade. So these are my complementary colors here. It's like red and green, and then I've got a lighter shade of the pink and a lighter shade of the green just to give us some depth to our color, okay? But all you really need is two colors, and then you can stamp off, and then you get different values of that same color. So that's what we're gonna do. So the first background technique that I'm going to do is just creating a background with your images. It's not really a collage, but it's a little bit of a collage because I might overlap the images a little bit. But basically, it's just a background. So I'm going to start with the flowers, and then we'll put in all the other little bits. Let's put a piece of scratch paper out here. So whenever you're going to make a background, I know I've said this before, but it's really important. The most important thing is that you start with your largest image first. So in this case, the leaves and the largest flower are the largest image. They're about the same. So I'm actually going to do the flowers first, and that way I can tuck in the leaves by the flowers. And this is a two-step stamping. So we've got a detailed image, and then I have a solid image. And I actually, with this one, I like to stamp the detailed image first. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use the Pretty in Pink. And you want to think in triangles. So I'm going to just start kind of off, a little bit off down here. The first image that you pick sets your pattern. So now I can go in any direction from here, but I'm going to try to go, you know, where there's white space, right? So I can go here, I can go here, and I'm going to try to make a triangle with these. So I'm going to not only move it, but I'm going to turn it. So I had it this way. Now I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do it right here. Again, just a little bit off. This is how you get the pattern that you like. And now I need to make a triangle. So I can go here like this, or I can go here. So I'm going to go up here because there's a little bit more white space. I'm going to turn this again like that. Okay, so we've kind of established a pattern. We've left equal amounts of space in between. So to complete it, you can kind of look and see. This is how you check your work. So here, here, the next one would go here. So there is just a little bit that would be maybe hanging off that way. Here, here, here. It's not going to be a full flower. Let's do that. Here, here. That's off the paper. That's off the paper. That's off the paper. Okay, so now that is the hard part. So I'm going to take my same Pretty in Pink and we're going to fill in these flowers, and I'm going to stamp off first. So I just get a lighter value of that Pretty in Pink ink. It matches perfectly. This is kind of just how you can absolutely do this in the different, you can do the solid one first and then put the detailed one on. Kind of just depends when you play with your two-step flowers. Hello, Pat. This is Pretty in Pink. So far, I've only used Pretty in Pink. Hi, Marvia. Hi, Connie. Thank you for the birthday wishes. All right, so we've set our pattern here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the next largest image, which is the leaf, and we're going to fill in, and we're still going to think in triangles. So I'm going to do this leaf in the Shy Shamrock, I think. Let me stamp it first. I kind of picked out these colors. I didn't practice these cards. That is very bright. I think I'm going to go with the lighter, and then we'll do smaller images with. All right, so this leaf has this stem on it, and I don't really want the stem. The stem is beautiful, but it kind of makes it far away from the flower. And so I stamped my flower on a piece of adhesive sheet. No, what are these called? Masking papers. And then I cut it out. And if I can get this apart, then we're going to just mask our flowers a little bit. Normally, if I'm doing a background, I don't like to take the time to do this because I just want to create a background. But we're going to create a great background. Okay, so here's our flower. I just rubbed this on my jeans, so I got a little bit of lint on it so it doesn't stick so tightly that it rips when I pull it up. Okay, so we're gonna stamp our leaves, and I'm just looking for the white spaces. So I'm gonna stamp over my masking paper so that the leaves look like they're coming out from behind the flower. This is a really beautiful flower. Okay, so let's do one this way to fill up that little bit of white space. Again, I'm just kind of making sure the the leaves are going in different directions. Okay, so we kind of have similar triangles here. We might need to just put a leaf right there. Okay, so we've kind of got it evenly spaced around. Okay, now let's use some of the darker colors. The darker Strawberry Slush and Shy Shamrock. I think I'm gonna, well, no, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not sure about the Shy Shamrock. That's okay. Okay, so wherever there is white space now, I'm going to use the detailed part of the smaller flower. So you can see the little ones that you go off the edge are really important for making that pattern. I'm going to do the same thing and stamp this off. My strawberry slush is extremely inky. So we've pretty much filled up all the white space here. And so before we fill in the last little bits, we're going to do some blending with the same colors that we inked in. So I'm going to take Pretty in Pink, let's put this over, and I'm just going to go back, and where I stamped that color, I'm going to add some ink with the blending brush. So this is kind of called burnishing, because you're just adding the color by rubbing it over the cardstock. And I'm going really lightly. So I just want to give like that shadow to the pink, so you can see how that kind of changed it a little bit. And then we'll take the soft sea foam, and we'll do the same thing where those leaves are. Why is this my favorite thing? I don't know exactly, but I think I just like that it turns out differently every time. And then just with your, your stamps, you can change the color. Okay, so now see how that just kind of made it all look a little bit more cohesive by adding the blending. Now we can just put in some of the little extras. And so we've got this tiny little cluster of flowers that'll look really pretty. And I think I'm going to do it with the stamped off strawberry slush, because I want it to just look really lightly. So anywhere there's a little bit of white space. And now this time I am going over some things that I already stamped, because we've kind of established our pattern. I'm just making sure that I've got them going off the edges here. So, Debbie, I totally understand. I think this is something that is a good exercise for you to do, once a week or once a month. Just pull out a stamp set and inks, and don't, oops, we don't want that in green. Just allow yourself to make mistakes. This is the center for the flower, so I'm going to add that pink. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of, I'm a little worried now because I really like this. I cut out the, I'm not worried. let's just go for it here. But I might do a stamp off. So this is another little leaf. And so this green is a little bit bluer than, so you see I'm just trying to look for the little bit of white spaces that are left. Okay, so let me have a cohesive thought here. I think that this is scary because it feels out of control while you're doing it. And you have to just kind of see the process through and make sure that you just allow yourself to make mistakes. Especially if you could just practice this on copy paper or scratch paper and work on your spacing. But you can see how by starting with that larger image, we set the pattern for this, and then everything else kind of falls together. So, oh good. Someone's gonna, mom of 3, yay, that's gonna be her challenge for December, making backgrounds. I love that. Okay, so I'm happy with this. The only thing that I think that it still needs are some words, because I like to put words or splatters, things like that. I'm going to add just a little bit more pink here around those colors. Maybe a little more green. Just trying to get rid of kind of the white space there. So let's take I want a small word. So I'm going to take the new banner sayings. These are small. Oh, here it is. Now you could leave it like this for sure. So don't panic when I put the words on here. So I'm just going to kind of layer them, going in the same direction, thinking about going off the page. Okay, so now we've got our words on there. The last thing that I would probably put on here is a little splatter of something. Let's see, my black is kind of old, but let's see if we can get it to splatter a little bit. I'm just tapping this and it's putting some little splatters on here just to kind of, it softens it. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so one of the things I wanted to do with these projects today, I didn't only want to do backgrounds, but I wanted to tie making your own background paper into card templates. So I looked through all my card templates and I came up with 3 that work really well for when you make your own background paper. So we're going way back into the archives for this first card. And this is card template number 8, and it's called, this is before I've come a long way. It's called Simply Awesome Angles. And so with this one, you need, it's going to make 3 cards. And so we need 2 other pieces of paper that are the same size. So I cut this one, I started this one, and it's 4 by 5 1/4. So it's already trimmed. And so I have the strawberry slush and the pretty in pink ready to go. And before we cut this, we're going to just run one of these through the embossing folder. This is the beautiful pattern. It's a new one in November as part of this bundle, Petals of Beauty. Kathy said, I think I know why you love this. You start out with a blank sheet and turn it into a beautiful work of art. I think that is definitely part of it. It feels like you're actually, creating art with the ink. And it definitely harkens back to before we had all the stuff, all the gorgeous paper. Now, there's definitely a place for designer series paper, don't get me wrong. But this always is so satisfying. So I'm going to put my embossed piece in the middle, and I'm going to cut these at the same time. So you can use a ruler and you can measure. And so that's what I wrote down right here. You start, you measure from the top 1 1/4, which is about right here. From the top right, and the top left, you measure 2 inches, and that's going to give you this angle. And then from the bottom, you just do the opposite. So you do 1 1/4 up from this side, and then 2 inches up from this side. I just made tiny little marks there. I'm going to cut them at the same time. To get a nice soft angle here. Okay, and now I'll turn this one. This was 2 inches. Where's my mark? There it is. I think I did that wrong. I think this one's supposed to be 2 inches. Yeah. Sorry about that. So this one, I did it opposite of this, okay? That's why I'm confused. It's a flexible template. Okay, so we'll go up 2 inches. There we go. And about 1 1/4 inches. You can just eyeball it as well. You just do the cuts at different angles. All right, so now we're gonna just spread them out. It's like a stack, cut, and shuffle, so it's even better. And each one gets one of the pieces. Now, if you want to it's smart to cut a piece of scratch paper that is 4 by 5 1/4, the same size as these pieces. And then you can glue onto your scratch paper first. And that way, if you're crooked at all, you can trim. So I'm putting this on crumb cake because I think it kind of looks maybe a little vintagey. So we've got that nice little pop of color. It would be just like if you were using designer series paper with this template. You could choose 3 different pieces of designer series paper that coordinate, or you can make your own. I'm just pressing down where my cutting blade kind of made the cardstock stick up, so that looks a little bit more even. Of course, we could use this piece as just a full card front piece. The stamped be perfect for that as well. I thought it would be fun to tie in some favorite card templates, and I definitely love angles on cards. Okay, so I already cut this out, and we're just going to add a simple little focal point to our cards. And so let's take one of the larger greetings that coordinates with "You Are Loved." This is called Delicate Framing. This is actually a bundle. It's a stamp set that has dies that make these beautiful little corners and things, but I just bought the greeting stamp set because I really loved the font and the sayings. And so now we'll just kind of tuck these in here. So this is a fun little leaf. So this leaf is part of the Petals bundle. I did do some homework on that. These are all the pieces that come in this Petals of Beauty bundle. So you've got 2, 3 here, greenery pieces that don't tie into the stamped images. They're just kind of adding, so you can make focal point clusters and add different things like that. Here are all the stamped images that have dies to cut them out. And then there are 2 just outline flowers that you can use as well on their own. or you can cut, you can layer it with this. If you didn't stamp, you could just layer this flower together with 2 solid pieces of cardstock. Lots of choices. So this is fun. You could do it this way. But I kind of like it just tucked in there. Okay, so we'll just plop this on here and pop it up. Could do this one a little bit differently, since that leaf is okay. Simple cards. These are the In Color from last year. Flat pearls. So we'll add some pretty in pink. This one I'm going to put here. Just to do something different. And we could add a little ribbon in there too. Happy birthday, Linda. Yours was last week. Okay, so this is our first idea. Using template 8, stamp and blend the ink in to create a basic background. So I wanted to try this with a set that like you wouldn't even think to maybe collage or make a background with. So this is a new Outdoor Adventure stamp set. It's great for making backgrounds because it already has like different size pieces and the words. And so when I'm looking for a stamp set, if I'm going to just use one stamp set, I try to look for those features. It's got some like background splatters, words, and then different sized images. And so I created the same type of thing with that little piece. And you wouldn't think necessarily to use a stamp set like that, but I thought it turned out really great. I was very happy with it. So we've got garden green, pecan pie, and then I added crumb cake to that, and I added a little bit of our soft sea foam. Okay, so our next background technique we're going to use a piece of paper. So that was Simply Awesome Angle. So we're going to go to template number 22, which was mini blinds. And we're going to start with a piece of paper that is 3 by 5. So here's the colors I picked. And again, I kind of went with complementary colors. So I was looking at Blueberry Bushel, Balmy Blue, and then across the street from the blues, you've got kind of orange. And so I didn't want dark. I picked Peach Pie to keep it nice and light. Okay, so it's mostly going to be blue with little pops of orange. And so for this one, we're going to start opposite. We're going to start with blending, and then we're going to stamp over it. So let's start with our light blue, our balmy blue. And you're going to think very similarly to what we just did, except in color instead of the image. So I'm going to put my first little patch of blue here, and it doesn't have to be a circle, it just has to be an area. And then I'm going to do one kind of over here, and they can kind of connect. And then I'm going to go off the page up here. Okay, so it's the same kind of little triangle. Okay, now I'm going to take blue, Misty Moonlight. That's what we're using here. And I'm going to go right up against that other color. Kind of make it blend in. Like that. Okay, and then you can go back with your first color where they overlap. Okay, and then we will take our Peach Pie and fill in. Beth, if you want to share your projects, we can make this a challenge in the Facebook group, Robin's Really Super Stampers. I think that's a great idea. I love your idea. So I'll set it up as a challenge, and then we can share our cards within that group. How's that sound? All right, so we've got our blues, and we've got our peach color. So we've got a really just a nice soft background. So I'm going to take, so I've got some things that are great to use with backgrounds are the spritzers, a paintbrush with water. So I've got one that has rubbing alcohol, one that has water in it. And I'm just going to give it a little spritz of water. It's going to make the ink disappear a little bit. And then we'll do a couple larger drops with the paintbrush. So the spritzer gives you a little bit of a mist, and then a paintbrush will give you more like water droplets. Okay, we're just making the background interesting. So this little, it almost looks like the salt technique on watercolor. You get that little splatter there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is stamp over this with a dark color. So I like to lovingly refer to this as my Vera Bradley technique, because I just have the colors in the background and then we just add like lots of floral design. So I'm going to use Charming Day. This came out this summer as an online exclusive. It's still available. And I'm going to use this smaller flower and maybe this leaf. This came out as a suite, and then it came out as a scrapbook kit, and so a companion set that that specifically goes with the scrapbook kit, but also goes with the main kit. I love how they do that. So the fonts match. Look at this great background for creating, you know, texture in your. Let's just go ahead and use it with your backgrounds. I usually pre-make all my projects for Papercrafting Playdate, and we are doing it today live. I didn't practice these. I did practice the technique, but not actual projects. So sorry if I'm less organized than normal. Oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm just going over in the peach pie where. And it just is creating a really subtle texture. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a dark color. So I'm picking Secret Sea. I could use black. I could use Night of Navy. And this works best with an outline image. We're just gonna cover this entire thing with the same image. Okay, so I'm going to turn it every time I stamp it, and I'm going to get it really close together. So this is just a like kind of an opposite way of making that background. Okay, so I kind of created an unfortunate little hole there, so I'm going to try to sneak that leaf in there. It might overlap a little bit. You can see how this is working. You could do this with more than one image. I'm just doing it with one image to show you how simple it can be. Okay, isn't that cool? Can you see why I think that's kind of like why I call it the Vera Bradley technique? Because it kind of looks like the fun little designs in some of that fabric. Okay, so again, this piece was 3 by 5, and we're going to use it on our card template number 22 called Mini Blinds. So that my card base is going to be Balmy Blue, and then I have a piece of Misty Moonlight that's going to be the base for this. And all we have to do is cut this beautiful piece of background paper into 5 pieces. So this is 5 inches. We're going to cut it into 5 1-inch strips. And I'm going to keep it in order. And then we're going to attach them. So I'm going to put the top and the bottom one on first, even with the edge. And we've got 1/8 of an inch on either side. So once we've got those in there, we can space these. My paper is just a little bit damp from my spritzing it. That's why it's not pretty. So they're all going to have about 1/8 of an inch between them. So my other birthday present to myself this week was doing a project that didn't require me to create a new PDF. And so when you go to the website for this particular episode, you will find the links to all of the card templates that we have used, and then also the other videos that that are about background stamping, including last year's birthday video. All right, well, it's not exactly 1/8 in between, but it's good enough. So there is our basic mini blinds card template. And let's just add a simple greeting. So this little small "You Made My Day," I'm going to use that one. With our secret C. Crooked. Let's try it again. Okay, so this new banners punch that goes with this greeting set also, works for a lot of different greetings that are in the stamp sets you already have. If you just want to get the punch. And don't forget all these little strips that you cut off when you make when you cut down your basic white cardstock to make trimmed card fronts. Save all these little 1/2-inch strips because it's perfect for using with this punch, because you can just slide in your different colors. So we're going to have "You Made My Day," and then we'll do one of the other designs here. Has a little layer, and that'll be our little pop of the peach. Pamela said number 3 is your favorite. Are you talking about a card template? What is number 3? This is the Balmy Blue sheer ribbon. This goes with that Aurora Borealis paper, Lights of Aurora, something called like that. This is available right now. So I'm just going to make a little layered bow, and I don't want it to be too big actually. Just a little bit bigger than my greeting. Yes, number 3. Okay, I'm gonna have to look up number 3 because I don't remember off the top of my head what number 3 is. That's awesome that that's your favorite. Pretty much whichever one I've done last is my favorite because they all have something unique and fun about them. Exactly working out how I wanted it to. Let's make this piece a little bit smaller here. Just want to tack that down. I could have done that in a different way, but I don't have any of my rolling adhesives right here. And it's still too big. There we go. Okay, I thought these little secrecy hues of blue flowers would look kind of pretty here. Kind of bring out that little bit of darker color. You could do anything white. It'd be really pretty too. Okay, let me hold that up. You can see the focal point. So that is our mini blinds. Okay, I've got one more background technique to share. Okay, let me show you. I'm going to go back to the template that we just did, but I did this technique. So this was the Awesome Angles template, but I used the burnishing ink with the acorn stamp set to create that full sheet background. So again, you're just using one image and it creates that beautiful background paper. Okay, so the last one, here's the stamp set that I used. Oops. Okay, so the last one, we're going to actually use last week's template. Like I said, sometimes my favorite template is the last one that we played with. And so this one's really fun. And one thing that I didn't get to do last week when we made this template was make something from scratch. I used all Designer Series paper for the projects and didn't get to kind of create my own. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to use this new bundle called Swirled Designs, which just have these really artistic, artsy watercolor, look like kind of pencil doodles, kind of all together. And then the dies have these really fun, funky shapes. And so I get a lot of questions about adhesive sheets. So we're going to cut these out first, and we're going to cut them out of silver foil, and we're going to use the adhesive sheets. So here's how the adhesive sheets come in 6x12. And since I do cut a lot of things out of foil that I would like to have adhesive sheets on the back, I'm going to cut this in half and then cover one whole half of the foil with the adhesive sheet. Okay, so here's how you do this. You're going to apply the adhesive to the back of whatever it is you're cutting out, because when you cut out your die, so think of it this way, let's just say you're using cardstock, and so it looks the same on both sides. Whatever side you're going to cut out your die with, you want the adhesive to be underneath to create that sticker. So this is exactly the same size here. So I'm going to cover the whole thing. So you pull off the strips, and underneath, this is just a thin layer of sticky film. So I'm going to do one at a time just to help me with this bigger sheet. It's a lot easier if you have a smaller piece. So you just cut the adhesive sheet to whatever size you need based on your cardstock. So now I've attached that little section to the back of my foil, and I'm going to do one at a time here. It's kind of like putting down contact paper. Okay, so these you just throw away. So now the adhesive, which is double-sided, is attached to the back of this. And now we have a peel-off layer. Okay, so when we peel this off, the adhesive is going to stick to the back. Okay, so I am going to cut out just a couple things with this. I think I'm going to do let's just do both the diamonds just in case. So I'm just going to cut this down. Let's do it this way. Just trying to make the most of the space so I don't waste any. Well, we'll leave it like that because that's good. So I'm going to just cut this. And then we'll save this for later. Why I'm doing it that way when I'm right-handed. Oh good, Susan bought this bundle because of the collage potential. Yes. Well, you can see what you think of my collage. And I bet you'll come up with some really great ideas. Okay, so the actual piece here is this beautiful outline of the triangle, diamond. And then we can actually save these pieces because they're big enough we could use them in a collage, or we could cut something else out of them. Okay, here's our little flowers. There we go. Okay, so those are going to be our accents when we're done. Okay, to the card. So I'm going to use watercolor paper this time. For something different. And the watercolor paper that Stampin' Up! Sells comes 5x7. So I want a 4x4. Oh my goodness, sorry. What a mess. Let me just back up. Here's the template we're using. We're going to collage these pieces. They're 2-inch squares, so we need a piece that's 4x4. And when you cut it this way, you get these 3 pieces here. So this is 4 by 4. This is actually 3 by 5. So you could do the technique that we just did with the mini blinds with your watercolor paper. And then you've got this nice piece to cut out your greeting with. So I'm going to save those. Okay, so I'm going to start with the watercolor paper whole because we're going to collage on it. And I wanted to do, again, I was just kind of using the color wheel to help. And I wanted to just kind of do that triadic color combination. And one of my favorites is red, blue, green. And so you can see if I kind of hover over the red here, you can see the red, blue, and then it starts in the green. So I wanted this to be nice and bright. So I'm going to use real Poppy Parade Blueberry Bushel and Granny Apple Green. So red, blue, green is just one of the things that is a great color combination no matter what, what the hue or shade is that you're doing. So if you're kind of at a loss and you want something with a lot of energy, just pick any red, any blue, any green, and go for it. Okay, so we're going to start with our largest image again. And I kind of want to just make sure, because we're cutting this up into squares, everything is going to be around. We're getting a little bit of everything. So I'm going to start with the blue. This is like a distinctive image, so you get all the variation of the color just by inking it one time. Isn't that so cool? Okay, and then I'm just gonna turn it a little bit so it's kind of going the other direction. See, I'm doing this exactly the same as I did the first card with the flowers. I'm just spacing them. And then we're going to let's do the green. Do this little splatter here. And this time we're like collaging it. I think my green needs to be inked. So I'm overlapping and filling up the white space. Kind of spacing those out. Okay, then we're going to start doing some of these strips because they're so much fun. So we've got kind of some dashed lines. This kind of crosshatch pattern. So before we do this, I kind of want these to blend a little bit. And because it's watercolor paper, we might as well add water and let it do some fun things. And I don't want the red and green to necessarily mix with watercolor. I could have done red and blue first, and then when it mixed, I'd kind of get some purple. But I'm going to try to keep it from not mixing, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take this. This has water in it too. This is just a little tiny travel water thing. I'm going to spray that. Let that kind of do its thing. Just going to move it around a little bit so some of the blue and the green mixes. Don't panic. Okay, so now we've kind of watercolored that. And we're going to dry it. Now I'm just going to add some more things. And because these are going to be cut into squares, I'm going to kind of keep everything like perpendicular. So we've got some cross hatch marks. Let's do some blue. Put our pop of red in here. So I'm kind of thinking in the triangles again with the little flower. Okay, and this one has like a splatter stamp as well. And so I'm going to stamp that off. And kind of do it near the flowers, so it's kind of going to reinforce those red areas, but yet not make it so like overwhelmingly red. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we're going to just finish it off with some words. And so I picked another word from that Just Because stamp set that I used at the beginning, which is now on the floor somewhere. This says, I appreciate you. We've got quite a mess going on in here. So I'm going to follow those straight lines. And just kind of layer this like you would like bricks going off the edge. Okay, you're wondering where this is going? So we've got our bright, bold colors here. It's time to cut this for our card template. So we want to cut this into 4 2-inch squares. Oh, there's the reading. This is what I was just using. The I Appreciate You is from this Words of Beauty bundle. Okay, so now we're going to mount these onto some coordinating cardstock. I added the Lemon Lime Twist as a brighter green. And there's no order here. I don't have to keep them together because now they're each like their own little collage. I'm really loving the energy of those colors. Using the brighter red, blue, green. Okay, so I picked, because of those colors, I picked a card base, that's a black card base. And so I'm going to keep the greens opposite. And I'm just thinking if there's one that I like better. Or not better, but which one I might want this one to be the top. So remember with this template that we did last week, you start at the bottom and then you layer counterclockwise so that the one that you end with is on top. So I'm going to start down here with blue, and then we'll do this green, red, and we'll do that one on top. Okay, now before I put that down, because we're going to have our little pops of silver, let's just add a tiny little bit of I'm going to use some white craft ink here. Just in those corners. Okay, so these are very thick because of the watercolor paper. And so we're going to use a few more dimensionals to lift them up, because when I layer this one on this, I have to lift it up. So I'm going to use my smaller mini dimensionals. They're a tiny bit thinner. So I'm just going to pop up that corner, and then where this one overlaps here, I'm going to glue it to that one. And then we'll do the same thing. So I guess I can put one under here too. So I'm going to attach this. Oops, I did that wrong. I'm just going to do this one next. I'm just spacing out my green ones. It really doesn't matter, but let's pretend it does. Okay, now this one's going to go like that. So I'm just making these about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. Like that. And then our last one will pop up on these corners and rest it on here. And I'm going to use the regular dimensionals because they're just a little bit thicker. Okay, so there's our 4 squares. Got lots of nice dimension with our layers. And so you can put anything on here, right, to finish this off. I'm going to just repeat the greeting. Actually, I was going to label the greeting, or layer the greeting by saying I appreciate you in the background of the card, and I'm going to put you're a great friend. So both of those greetings were from the Words of Beauty. You're a great friend. I appreciate you. And I'm just going to add these funky little diamonds. So it's kind of a really like more of a mixed media feel to this one. So we can just kind of add that, kind of put our greeting kind of across that like that. Let's just do it. So this is where it's nice to have that paper on the back, the adhesive sheet, because there's a lot of tiny little lines in this die design that are a little bit more difficult to put glue on. So one side of the greeting is going to need the dimensionals. That's going to stick out over here, and then I'm just going to use liquid glue on the other side. I don't know that I need this other one, but that would be kind of cool. You could overlap them. You could put it down here. I think I'm going to go with the flowers just to make this kind of, I've got the flowers already in the background. So we've got 3 sizes from that little die. Let's put one here, and then we'll put the other 2 little ones down here. Thanks for sticking with me with this background technique. I appreciate your time. And I hope that you will take up Beth's challenge of working on background papers, creating your own. Let's make sure this is, get rid of the ink here. Okay, so Sherry is asking if I use my embossing buddy like on this top and bottom here, so that when they get mailed, they don't lay down flat. And yes, I definitely would. You can just kind of take the sticky off of those 2 tips like that. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I love the bright colors. Let me show you another one. The first one, I did kind of practice this one a little bit, and I used just some blues and yellows, which created some green. And I tried it with the star. Now, one thing that think about if you aren't comfortable creating your own stamped background and spacing and things like that, look for things in your stash that are already collaged for you. So you might have just some background stamps similar to this with any kind of design on them, such that you can do the second technique where you just burnish the color and then stamp the leaves over top, and then you can cut it apart and use it the same way. This extraordinary flora, you can use this whole piece as a background. I played with that one, and it's the perfect size for this template here. I just was able to stamp that once over my burnishing, and then I added some embossing with an embossing folder to give it even more texture. And this was with some watercolor paper, so it has a slightly different feel to it. Okay, let's take a look at all our cards. And then I'm going to see if you have any questions. Okay, so first we did our background technique where we stamped and created the background with images, burnished the color on, and then cut that up. We used card template 8, Simply Awesome Angles. I could keep going with this card template. I really enjoy those angles, you can tell. That was the one I got the most samples done. And then our second template was the mini blinds. And we've got 2 examples of the mini blinds. And then the third was our layered foursquare with more of a watercolor collage. Do your Christmas cards first. You'll thank yourself if you get your Christmas cards done, and then this can be your reward to play with backgrounds. That's what I decided I was going to do for the birthday this week, is do what I wanted to do. I should be making my Christmas cards too. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, so there's a Facebook group, Robin's Really Super Stampers. You can join. We share the projects that we make, and then we ooh and ah each other's creations. That's all we do there is share. So I will put this up as a challenge, and you guys can add your samples whenever you get them made. Oh, Pam's husband is 82 today. Wish him a happy birthday. Okay, so when you follow the link in the description box, it's going to take you to a blog post that will have the pictures of the cards. All 3 of these templates you can find there as well. And then I've also linked other videos where I've done similar background techniques or collaging, or last year's birthday video where we created a whole background sheet 8 by 11, and we created fun folds by cutting that up. That was a really fun project. If you start making your own backgrounds, definitely grab this one, because you can make 4 fun folds from yours. Oh, here's the mini blinds. There's the mini blinds, number 22. All right, so you've got some homework, and thank you, Beth, for throwing out that challenge. We definitely will take advantage of that as well. And I hope that wherever you are at in your holiday list, you will take some time for yourself to do some things that will relax you and bring you joy, like making your own one-of-a-kind backgrounds. And I just wish you well. Thank you so much for spending time with me on my birthday week, and I will look forward to seeing you in December for Papercrafting Playdate. Thank you very much. Bye.